Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa, No Filler. Please do remember to like and subscribe. I don't love doing these, do I? We don't have to do it very often under the management of Professor Unai Emery, where Aston Villa lose games. It's quite a rare feeling, which is a joyous thing to think about with Villa. But look, okay, Aston Villa have lost 2-0 to Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Last season we got 6 points off them. So I do tend to notice that whenever I do these instant reactions and Villa lose, the ratings or the views or whatever seem to go quite high. So I can only assume it's opposition fans, assuming that in the Villa world we have a group of supporters who are a bit like, a Mark Goldbridge going mad and, looking for all the attention and the clicks and whatever. But that's not really how it works here. What I'm going to say is this. I think it was quite similar to last season's games against Arsenal, but the difference was last season Arsenal didn't take the chances that came their way. This year, Aston Villa did not take the chances that came their way. And that is the only difference. I think Arsenal and Aston Villa are two absolutely brilliant football teams. And I think that both sets of supporters should be very, very excited about what we are all going to be seeing this season. I have tipped Arsenal to win the Premier League, and I even think they might win the Champions League, given the rock solidity of their defence, and now the signing of Marino as well. But I think Aston Villa, as Villa fans, we are looking on at something where we go, this is a special team, and we've got a lot to look forward to this season, and we're going to compete for absolutely bloody everything if we want to. In this game, genuinely, the only difference was Ollie Watkins simply didn't take the two gilt-edged chances that came his way. And the problem for Ollie is that he's had no pre-season. So he's come into this season against West Ham. Mavropanos just bullied him out of the game and he was kind of anonymous. Well, he was anonymous. Today, he looked just, I call it the half-second delay. And I go back to when I used to play football when I was, 18, 19 at a decentish level. And I think of like how, the Premier League level is like astronomically better than that. But even then, at that level and at Ollie Watkins' level, just a couple of weeks out from playing 4 or 5 times a week in training and football and playing games to coming back in and just having to go into the full pace game. It's amazing how your touch just isn't quite with you. And that's why pre-season is so important. And just unfortunately for Ollie, he's not had that pre-season and he kind of is having his pre-season right now. And I think if he was a little bit sharper, he doesn't miss that chance in the first half. And in the second half, that header. Look, there's going to be a lot of talk about David Raya's save and his reaction to get up and save it. And it was fantastic. Look, it's brilliant goalkeeping. You can't deny that. But I still think he should have scored it. I think Ollie Watkins, if he's a bit sharper, just puts that header slightly to the right. He just puts it in, basically. And the thing for Villa is that I think that the game was Gary Neville was saying, I'm quite annoyed by Arsenal today. They're not at this moment in time, they're not going for it. And it's like, well, the truth is the reason Arsenal looked so off it is because Aston Villa put them off it. Because Unai Emery's shape and his build and his tactics for this game were absolutely perfect. You play against, I mean, let's face it, potentially the Premier League winners this season in Arsenal, Man City, and Aston Villa. Yeah, of course, Villa's going to be competing for it. But you're playing against a top level team. We're not going to play, other than City, a better team this season at Villa Park. You have to go into these games with a broad game plan which just nullifies them, right? And that's exactly what Aston Villa did. Got it all right, and then once you've sort of nullified them, you get them off the game, the concentration levels aren't quite there, you work a chance, which is exactly what we did at the Emirates when we won 2-0 a couple of months ago. And today we did exactly the same. It's just that we had a player who's not had a pre-season missing chances. And it's just such a shame because I I really think if Watkins had taken either one of them chances, it's a big ask for Arsenal to get back into that game. And look, they're a great side that have created chances, but I think Villa's defence, I think we could have held out. I really do. Um, so I mean, it's as simple as that. And if you look into the first half, it was very stop-start for the first half an hour. It was just constant stoppages, the game being delayed. It's just a lot of different things that were making it quite challenging. But I think that Villa generally, what was happening was that you saw the effect of Onana, you saw his physical presence there in the centre mid, and Yuri Tielemans. I talked about it on the preview the other day. Look, on that preview, I said, as Arsenal down the right, it's where they are at their most threatening with White, Odegaard, and Saka. But down that right, Aston Villa prepared perfectly for it. I thought Yuri Tielemans was fantastic, both in possession, being put under pressure by three Arsenal players. He'd somehow work a way out of it. And just keeping Odegaard quiet, just occupying a space. I described it as Odegaard Island. It's where Saka and White create so much havoc when White pushes forward, Saka comes inside, or Saka goes outside, White comes inside, and Odegaard pulls into that space and just finds that space. It's Odegaard Island. He does it all the time. And I feel like Tielemans and John McGinn did a fantastic job in restricting Odegaard and making him a little bit like Tom Hanks in Castaway. He's looking there screaming Wilson. He's at the ball screaming Wilson because there's nothing there. There's no opportunities for him. He was kept quiet for a good 70 minutes of that game. And then I think Saka himself, generally, again, I think Luca Dean did a really good job on him. And again, it was that sort of Tielemans and McGinn sort of presence in that area, which just put, I think, Saka and Odegaard off the game a bit. I don't think they were quite into it. But I do have to say, in the first half, there was one moment when Saka got inside. We all know how great a player Saka is. It gets inside, and it's that trademark Saka goal. Think back to that England goal against Switzerland when he came inside and just whips it on his left foot. He does it all the time. He worked that chance today against Villa in the first half, and Emi Martinez is save off him. I mean, in ancient civilizations, the Romans, the ancient Greeks, ancient, samurai Japan, wherever, they'd all look at Emi Martinez, make that save, and they'd build a statue to the guy. They'd worship him as a god because they're like, there's no other goalkeeper in world football that makes that save. I myself are now think maybe he is a god. Maybe that's what Emi Martinez is. He's won the World Cup and 2 Copa Americas. He's won more since leaving Arsenal than Arsenal's won since he was there, which is just kind of a response to what the Arsenal fans were sort of bizarrely mocking him for, even though he was brilliant for Arsenal, very patient for Arsenal, and won the FA Cup with some fantastic displays for them. So I think it's a bit odd the way they are with him, but whatever, it's football, isn't it? We all have our comical rivalries. But I think generally Aston Villa with Onana, Tielemans, basically what they were doing was they were just there as that sort of physical presence in midfield, and they would just drop ever so slightly, subtly into the back four to almost make it into a back six. And what was happening, I noticed, I need to watch the game back a little bit, but what I feel was happening was that it kind of surprised me a bit. So Rodgers was the second striker and Ollie Watkins was the striker. But what was happening when Villa were out of possession was that Bailey was coming forward in the front two and Rodgers was dropping between the two of them into almost a kind of diamond shape. And it was almost like he was awaiting the inverted fullback, which we talked about on the preview. I talked about ad nauseum. I said it, didn't I? I mean, it's just what Arsenal do. They bring that inverted fullback in. And Villa prepared for it by having Rodgers kind of, I think this is what was happening. Rodgers awaiting Timber to come into the centre. And suddenly you had Bailey and Watkins as the front two on the back three. Timber comes into the centre and you just have kind of a Rodgers kind of just waiting, lurking to sort of nullify Timber. And I think that inverted fullback didn't really cause Villa any problems today. I think that was just how Villa set up. And I think it was how we defended generally. So defended brilliantly, did what we needed to do against the best defence in the Premier League. They conceded 29 goals last season in the league. I think they'll concede even fewer this season with Calafiori, Timber, and Marino coming in. But I think generally Villa, we nullified them, we kept them quiet. We just didn't take our chance. And it came when Leon Bailey put the pressure on Gabriel, won the ball. Rodgers, fantastic touch out to Ollie Watkins. And how in the hell he's missed that? It's just not fit. He's not sharp. That's the only way you can put it. And by the way, can we talk about Morgan Bloody Rodgers? If you don't think Aston Villa have a world-class player on their hands, you're dreaming. I had two Arsenal fans message me during that game saying, who the hell's this Morgan Rodgers guy? Before this season, here's what I predicted. I said, one to watch, Kostin Nedeljkovic, but one to watch because he's young and he's going to come in and play in the league, but one to watch who's going to break into the Premier League, as in Villa fans already know about him, but the one who Premier League fans are going to become aware of is Morgan Rodgers. Lee Carsley was there today. There cannot be any way in the world he watched what Morgan Rodgers did today, making a mockery of Thomas Partey, making a mockery of Declan Rice at times, and think anything other than, this is a guy I need to come back to Aston Villa every single week and watch. He might as well book the hospitality section at Aston Villa himself and come and watch him every week. Because the man, his link-up play, his ability to drift past players, it's not like he's running fast. The guy runs, it's like he's running so casually. But his height, his physicality, his touch, his ability to move past a player with just an extra bit of speed suddenly. The man is absolutely outstanding. Morgan Rodgers is outstanding. Now, Villa, right, beyond that, we lost the key player in Matty Cash going off early, and it's a shame because I thought Cash started the game pretty well. Kostin Nedeljkovic comes in. Can we all just give a moment for an 18-year-old player coming in there in his home debut, barely any experience of English football at all, par 15 minutes of West Ham, and he's got to play one of the best teams in the league, and he came in, and the man did such a great job against Martinelli. His positioning was really good. There were moments he won the ball off him. There were moments we saw him bursting forward, getting around Leon Bailey. There were moments where he started to get more confident on the ball. You could see early when he had the ball, he got a bit nervous and he gave the ball away. He did the same against West Ham. It was that nerve came in. But as he got more time on the ball, as the game progressed, he became more confident on it. And as I'm saying, we just got to be patient with Costa because he's such a young guy. The raw material is there. And he did a really solid job today, I think, as a young guy. Do I think Aston Villa need more right centre-back and right-back? Absolutely. I think that's the one part of the team I look at Villa and think, I've talked about it ad nauseum this week on squad analysis. Go back and listen to it if you want. I talked about it in the preview for this game with Arsenal, that I just felt that was the area I was a bit worried about. Could you argue that Leander Trossard coming on in the second half, maybe that's the area where we got caught? You could. I generally think the reason Trossard did so well is that he came in and the goal he scored in the second half was kind of a bit lucky, really. Odegaard hits it. You know, it's that rare moment Odegaard got that moment on Odegaard Island. He sends that ball through our lines for Saka and it just stayed in play. And Luca Dean maybe thought it was going out of play. I think Dean should have just kept belting back, run back, get him in the way of that. Saka gets to it. Fair play to him. I mean, fair play. What can you say, really? Pulls it back. A Villa player gets to it, comes off Rodgers and gets into Trossard. I don't think there's much anyone could have done, really. I think it's just a bit of fortune. And then the second goal, it's a ball over the top. Could you say that Nedeljkovic maybe he stepped forward when he should have maybe just kept with Trossard? You could argue what Trossard did was brilliant wing play and that he looked along the line and just stayed in with the line. And there's not really a lot. If Matty Cash had been there, it probably might have been a similar scenario. He gets in behind, knocks it across, nothing comes of it, get away with it, comes back to Thomas Partey. Emi Martinez should save it. He knows he should have saved it. You can see it from his reaction. Just 2 goals. Big shout out to Nedeljkovic, though. That a young teenager coming in there against Arsenal, having to do what he did, he grew into the game. And I think that as Villa fans, we should be very, very excited about what might come from him this season as we progress. We had another chance. I think Maatsen looked really good when he came on. A couple of moments from him. He's the bomb. And I think he might start against Leicester. I bet he starts at Leicester. I'll talk about that this week. But I think there was a moment where Jacob Ramsey got through one-on-one. Saliba did really well to get back. But again, you saw how brilliant Villa are. You saw what a great side we are. We're playing against the best pressing team in the Premier League because Arsenal have the best press in the league, right, as a unit. Even better than City. But we got out of it. And one quick ball into Morgan Rogers. That sort of back heel he did. It wasn't even a back heel. It was like a complex sort of side back heel touch into Duran. Was absolutely phenomenal. Unbelievable. Duran, brilliant first time ball around the corner from Rogers, to Ramsey. Ramsey runs onto it. And I mean, all you can say is Saliba did brilliantly to get back to it. They bring on Calafiori, who I talked about at length the other day. And I think that, look, I know I talked about Arsenal a lot in the preview. I've had a few people give me feedback on that. Apologies. But look, the reason I did want to talk about that is because, and the reason I think they might win the league is because I think Calafiori, Moreno coming in from Sociedad as a CDM, and Timber, just what I think they offer for Arsenal is that I think Calafiori came in and he was that defensive solidity. And the problem is when you play Arsenal, you have got to take your chances. And that game showed it today because you're essentially playing a sort of, Arsenal fans ain't going to like this, a modern interpretation of a Mourinho approach. When Mourinho did this in 2005, 6, 7 with Chelsea, what they would do is Chelsea would go for it and they look a bit vulnerable sometimes, but then they'd shut up shop because they'd somehow work a goal and you just couldn't break them down. It kind of feels a bit like that's what Arsenal's trying to do now in a much more kind of modern way of doing it. They're basically a sort of modern incarnation of what Mourinho used to do. And they've probably worked out that's the only way you can stop Man City. But Villa, what I would say is this. As Villa fans, we should be bloody excited about what we're seeing from Villa because I bet you there's barely any other team in the Premier League that can do what they did to Arsenal today and come as close as we did to basically beating them. And it's as simple as that. I know 2-0 looks like you think, how the hell are you saying that Aston Villa nearly beat them today? We tactically set up in a way to nullify them. They just got a moment of luck with that Trossard goal in the second half. But if Villa had taken either chance that came Ollie Watkins' way, maybe even Ramsey had scored that goal as well, whole different story. And we saw that last season when we scored and beat them 1-0. Saw that last season when they didn't take their chances at Arsenal and we beat them 2-0. Aston Villa are a brilliant, brilliant football team. And we are going to see some fantastic football this season. We've got the squad depth right now. One or two areas I hope we increase in the next week. Absolutely. Got another week of the transfer window. We'll see what happens. Diego Carlos didn't get on today. They brought on Nedeljkovic. That's a huge moment of confidence from Nedeljkovic from Emery. Fair play to Costa, as I say. But Carlos didn't get on. He didn't push Ezri out to the right, which makes you wonder if Carlos might be a player they're thinking of selling this week. That's all I'm saying. But look, Arsenal won it. There ain't going to be many other teams win it. Aston Villa this season. Villa are a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant football team, and don't fucking well forget that. We're going to do it this season. We are on a good journey with Unai Emery. He's on till 2029. He signed on till 2029. We are on a fantastic journey. Will there be setbacks every now and again against some of the top sides in the world like Arsenal? Yeah, there will. But we showed last season what we can do to Arsenal. We showed last season what we can do to Man City, what we can do to Liverpool, teams like that. We're going to show it again this season. Up the mighty Villa.